Okay, so what is AI? So I mean, today I kind of want to talk about what is AI, and so the obvious answer would be, well, AI is something that simulates how a human mind works, right? But here comes that question, like how exactly does how exactly did we create something that can simulate how a human mind work? It's very confusing, right? So that's why I looked into it a little bit, and today I'll kind of explain my understanding of what AI currently is. And so AI is basically so we basically created AI using something called machine learning. And what machine learning is essentially is a kind of algorithm that learns by itself. So before we have programs, right? Programs is a kind of fixed algorithm where a machine follows to complete a set of tasks. But the thing is, uh, our demand is a lot more complicated than just a couple of tasks. So if we want to create a program that fulfills everyone's that fulfills like a range of tasks, it's going to be quite difficult, especially when it comes to recognizing complex matters, when it comes to providing a tailored response, right? Because currently AI provide a quite um how to say quite relevant response compared to a couple of years ago where all of the chatbots, all they provide is a few pre-programmed sentence. So how does AI achieve that? Well, what AI do is so what machine learning does is that machine learning um, provides an algorithm that is self-adjustable. So so um, when you feed an existing data into the machine learning algorithm, it will look at the data and make a judgment. And after it made the judgment, it is going to compare with what the actual data is. So I'll give an obvious example here, right? So, for example, if you feed the machine learning algorithm a picture of a dog, right? And the machine learning algorithm is going to look at the picture of dog and recognize, okay, it has two eyes, it has one nose, and it has 2 ears. So it must be a cat, right? And so based off the output that's provided by the machine learning algorithm, and the answer that's already existent um, from the data that we provided, there is some kind of program that calculates the difference between them, right? So the difference between the assigns a kind of a score in terms of the difference between the output of the machine learning program and the the data that we feed it in. So essentially, in this case, it's going to be the difference between cats and dogs, and the the difference between the cats and dogs as a response, right? So once we have that difference, the machine learning program is going to self-adjust some of its criteria in terms of how much, the, the the program values eyes to make the judgment, how much the program recognizes the shapes to make a judgment, uh, etc. etc. And so ultimately, when we feed enough of the data into the program, it is going to have um, uh, sufficiently accurate judgment for for responses like this. So this is essentially how we kind of um, uh, simulate like more subjective judgments, um, like like that's unique to human, using AI, using this thing called machine learning. And so this is all very simple. But the reason that we got a huge AI boost for generative AI is because that we've developed a new technology that's we got huge advancement in something called deep learning. And deep learning is kind of similar to machine learning, except that it considers multiple layers, multiple variables at the same time. So before a machine learning program might just look at the eyes and make judgment. But for deep learning, it can do something that's kind of similar to neurons, where you interpret different elements of a piece of information at the same time. So for picture recognizing AI, then the deep learning program will look at the shape of the eyes, the color, the nose, the position of all of them, um, and the texture, etc., etc., all of the elements together at the same time and make a judgment. And so that's a lot more element to be considered than the machine learning before, right? So it's essentially a more advanced version of machine learning. And so that's why we have AI that can make um, very, very, uh, very, very accurate judgment, very, very accurate response to our questions and to the tasks that we have given them. Although they're not 100% correct, because ultimately, what the AI does is that it develops this kind of trial and error program that works most of the time. But there are two issues with it. The first one is that it doesn't work 100% of the time. There, there will be, rare incidences where, in the case of the picture recognizing uh, algorithm, where the where cat is recognized as dog and dog is recognized as cat, using that program because of because they have the same combination of element in accordance to the algorithm developed by AI from the trial and error. And so that's the first thing. And the second thing is that um, with the current way of developing AI does not really have the ability to think. So what essentially what appeared like thinking from the AI uh is just a result of trial and error. It's developed from getting a huge amount of data and and choose the most likely response, the most likely word that might sound correct in response to a question. And so in this case, uh, we have a situation where we have created something that looks like human mind, but it actually is not. Uh, it actually isn't human mind. Yeah. So that's my understanding of our current AI at the moment. Um, it's an interesting thought. I like to learn about a couple of new stuff, but my articulation definitely needs a lot more work. But that's the reason that I created this video.